All right, well, welcome and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second NextGen Investor webinar. My name is Nick Eftimov. I'm part of Stifel's Chief Investment Office. I'll be your host today for this webinar, along with my colleague, Sophia DiMartini. Sophia, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Sophia DiMartini. I'm a member of the CIO office here at Stifel, and I've taken a special interest in the NextGen initiative since we've started it here, and I'm really excited to be here today talking to all of you and interviewing Alex Dees.
Yeah, so before we get started, last time, for those of you that joined us, if you remember, we talked with Alyssa and Giselle Thompson. They're two inspiring athletes, members of the U.S. Women's National Soccer team. And we talked about mindset, discipline, and what it takes to build a personal brand. So today we're going to build on that topic and talk about something that I think probably almost everyone on this call has thought about at least once, and that's starting a business and becoming your own boss. Think for a lot of people, the idea of freedom and flexibility and building something that's yours is exciting. But I think if you're like me, at least, that excitement quickly turns into a lot of questions and maybe doubt. How good is this idea? Do I have the time and the skills to actually pursue this? I remember at one point thinking, like, I like the idea of entrepreneurship, but I also like stability. And that's a real tension, especially I think in your 20s when you're building your career and your life at the same time. So today, just a quick, I guess, maybe spoiler, this isn't convincing you or telling everyone to go and start a company. It's about hearing one founder's journey and distilling some of his lessons, the highs and the lows that we can all use in our own professional and personal growth. So we're very fortunate today to be joined by Alex Dees. He's the co-founder of Meridian. And since launching in October of last year, Meridian's launch video has generated over 10 million impressions. The company has onboarded more than 100 businesses, and that team has grown to 7 employees. They're operating out of Williamsburg, Brooklyn, but I believe in a couple of days in Manhattan, New York City. Before Meridian, Alex worked at several startups. He has experience with scaling go-to-market teams, leading the growth, sales, and solutions. So, Alex, we're very excited to have you today. Welcome.
Hey Nick, hey Sophia. Sorry for
Hey,
the delay.
so maybe let's dive right in, Alex. We're going to talk obviously about Meridian and the company, but what I think is interesting for everyone is learning more about your background and your journey. Talk about how you got to where you are today. I think you were a political science major, which one would say that isn't necessarily a prerequisite for a tech founder. So I'm curious, when you were back in school, what do you think your career path would be? Was starting a company almost like always in the back of your mind, eventually doing, or did that sort of evolve and come later?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thank you, Nick and Sophia, for having me. Super excited to be chatting here with you all today. Yeah, it's a great question. I think I entered college, first wanting to work into politics. I had a bunch of kind of ideas of what I wanted to do, but really kind of what started the like entrepreneurship journey was I got started into building my own things in college. And I think kind of just that process of you know, building something from like 0 to 1, and getting to see like your work really, the things that you're doing every day actually impact whatever you're kind of working on. It was very much the first time where I felt like work wasn't work, and I was excited to go do it every day. And so I think since then it's kind of been off to the races.
So I guess after college, you went into the corporate world for a little bit. We know that, and you've talked about that. But then you went to Zeal, which was your first startup. At Zeal, what did you really like about the startup life, and what really made you want to start your own, I guess?
Yeah, I spent about a year in corporate, and at the time I had been working like part-time for a number of like YC companies. Realized that I wanted to make the jump. I was just having a lot more time, a lot more fun working on the part-time things than the full-time things. So like, let's make the part-time the full-time. Ended up moving out to San Francisco, joined a YC company, Zeal, right after like YC Batch as a third employee. And we were building like embedded fintech, essentially, the infrastructure to help other companies build fintech products and sell them out to their to their customers. And I think what I vividly remember after like 2 weeks at Zeal, I felt like I had learned more about life and business than a lot of my time in like a larger company. And I think it is like a very different types of learning. It's very grateful for my time in corporate, but I think when you go kind of to that like 0 to 1 environment, there's not really like a dressing up of a lot of the problems in the business. You're very face to face with all the problems, and if you like kind of getting into seeing that the thing that you're working on has like a very direct impact on that work stream, then I think it was, that realization was like the first big one where it's like I like this kind of work, and I think I'm here to stay.
Got it. No, that's awesome. I guess it kind of leads into then what Meridian is, because it went Zeal, Meridian. Could you give everyone in the audience like that 60-second elevator pitch of what Meridian is, the audience it serves, it's just stuff like that.
Yeah, quite. Essentially, our tagline is it's pretty simple. We help companies understand their visibility in an AI search and then improve it, right? I think one high level comparable is to like SEO traditionally. But really AI is kind of eating the buyer journey. If we're to think about it in like a pretty simple mental model, but the buyer journey is kind of like finding, evaluating, choosing, and then buying products. In the past world is really like a three-party model. You used Google search to like find, but then you're kind of out of the Google ecosystem on a blog or reviews or websites. But now more and more consumers and businesses are doing that entire buyer journey straight into the chatbot. And that is third parties like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, but also Google is moving more and more towards AI search, right? So essentially, we help our customers, one, understand how they're currently being perceived or not perceived by AI, and then building the tools to help them improve that.
Very, very cool. So SEO for AI, kind of,
Yeah,
in the non-tech words, I guess you would say.
yeah, about it.
So at Zeal, I know you were doing something a little bit different, but how did this idea come to you? Did you have a mentor that talked about it? But I guess where did the idea come from? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. I came from like the fintech background, like I was thinking about, and I think there was a lot of excitement in fintech around kind of what we saw as like the next evolution of fintech, which is agentic commerce. What happens when AI actually goes and buys the thing for you? What is the infrastructure needed, both on the like agent side or the person, the agent buying, as well as the business actually be bought by the agent? And that's actually really where this idea started. Um, I talked to a lot of businesses and people in the industry, realize that that isn't like a reality right now. And there quite simply wasn't customers for that kind of solution at this point. But back to the buyer journey, I realized that it was affecting kind of those like first three right now. And every business I talked to very much needed solutions for the find, evaluation, and choosing part of it. Maybe not yet the buying yet, but realized that was really like the market need and the thing to work on right now.
Alex, I have a question on that to maybe broaden it out, I guess, to entrepreneurship in general. I think a lot of people have interesting ideas at some point, but it's very hard. It's very few that move past that concept phase. And what I'm hearing from you is, hey, is there a pressure, a way to pressure test an idea to say, hey, is this actually a good business model? Is this viable? And it sounds like, doing due diligence, essentially, maybe talking to who might be your potential customers and others before you sort of commit to something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. I think a lot of first time entrepreneurs, me included, the first time I worked on the things, right? You kind of have this idea and you think it'll work, but maybe you're kind of scared of like feedback. So you spend 6 months working on it before you actually try and go sell it. I think, for this company, I vividly remember like selling the solution within the first week. If people are willing to give you money to go and build it, that is the ultimate solution. But if they aren't, then it's probably a sign of the thing that you want to work on or want to build. Uh, there's not actually people that are willing to pay for it, which is a pretty good signal that it's not the thing to work on.
Got it. So maybe that's a good transition because I want to talk about the sort of the building phase, the early days, ground zero of starting Meridian. So, you've decided, hey, I'm gonna do this and pursue this. Like, what did the next day essentially look like? Is it, heads down, we're gonna build this product, or was it more logistics? What goes into setting up a business, regulatory filings, all that? I'm just curious, how does it actually get, from idea concept to moving to, all right, now it's a business?
Yeah, I think honestly the quickest things that you want to move into or that I feel you want to move into is like as quick as possible build a V1 that you can sell and actually start collecting money for. I think the other things, well, maybe like setting up a business or everything else, it can feel like progress, but really, oftentimes it's not, right? At the end of the day, you want to build something that solves your customers' problems and getting to as fast as possible where you actually are solving those problems and getting paid to do it is kind of the ultimate validation, I guess, in business. So I remember week one was literally like we didn't really have anything, but we knew this is the thing that we wanted to start building, and we had kind of that validation. And so it was literally starting to sell. And I think we had customers by like week two.
Got it. So I've heard you talk before about startup speed, right? Everything sort of feels urgent. You got to get a bunch of things built and done. And there's a sort of that tension of like, well, and then maybe it's like a personal characteristic trait, like I need it to be perfect. So I'm going to go and spin on this and kind of try to get it to perfection, or I have a good enough product that a customer needs. And we know there's going to be V1, V2, et cetera. So I'm curious, in those early days, how do you decide and prioritize? Like, this is important. This is something that maybe isn't perfect, but we can live with. And what gets like totally ignored? It's like, hey, we're going to get to that eventually. Like, maybe standing up, I don't know, some marketing stuff and things like that.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think my advice would be launch the like worst V1 as possible as fast as possible. Your customers will know much better what the next thing that you need to build is versus like what you think it is. And they will tell you if you're building something that they want and they are paying for, especially. So really, I think I I do think that I have like a high attention to like detail, and so sometimes it can be like very painful to like put something out in the world that like you're like, oh, this could be a million times better. But if you kind of stay in the oh, let's make this like a little bit better before we release it to customers, then you're probably going to end up doing that for many years before you have that like first customer, and you could end up building in the wrong direction. So we've really gone to, and I think it's something that I've learned a lot, honestly, from my co-founder, which is like as soon as possible, ship and uh, customers will very quickly tell us if it's good, if it's bad, and what they need next.
Got
That
it.
makes a lot of sense. I think I want to join two of the topics you've talked about. So it's startup speed, and then also you talked about the validation you got early on by some of your customers. Um, what was the first moment, I guess, if you could go back to when you got validation from the market or maybe a mentor, and how did they make it so that you shifted to priority that they were talking about?
Yeah, it does feel a lot like, if you're pushing a boulder up a hill or if you're getting like pulled by the market. And I think we knew like very quickly this was a pull, which is, one, customers are paying you money. That is obviously like the best sign and like the ultimate validation. But they are, emailing you about what they need next, or they are emailing you about like what's broken. If they are doing that, even if it's to complain about a part of the product that they don't like, it means that they care enough to like send that email, which is really, I think, what you want to be happening. And so the more customers actually like care about what you're building, it really is like what we are searching for when building something new.
Got it. So customers are number one priority in making sure that you're accommodating to them maybe a little bit. On the flip side of stuff, so it seems like you talked about a lot what's gone well. His things have probably have gone bad before. Like if a code failed or something, how do you handle those uh-oh moments in the past? Like how have you gotten through it?
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of times it feels like, the first day of a startup is like there's 10,000 problems and you kind of just need to like work on the most important one every day. But there's always going to be a bunch of problems. So I think you get a little bit used to like something going not your way or something breaking or, like customer issue. Um, I think it really is kind of just like getting past the like, oh no, that happened stage as quickly as possible and very quickly into just like, all right, what do we do next? Or like, what do we solve it? You can't get too high or too low because I don't know if you if you get pretty low for every problem, you're probably not going to be having a good time.
Fair enough.
So I have a question coming back to the startup speed, and it's interesting because obviously you're right in the thick of what is now the most talked about topic when it comes with AI. And you're still a fairly new company. I think you just, if my math is correct, just passed like 100 days. But then, there's so much happening when it comes to the AI world, and you see these LLM models sort of leapfrogging each other. So, has anything changed from like day one, let's say, to today in terms of, hey, the product needs to be a little bit different, or the customer we're targeting, or even how you spend your time day to day? How has that evolved?
Yeah, I think it kind of honestly shifts every day in terms of like what we're building, what we think is like the next priority. I think there's kind of like two sides of it, which is like one kind of on like the models idea, right? I think definitely we were very intentional around like, you kind of hear this idea of like LLM wrappers, and we want to make sure that what we're building gets better as the models get better and not, we die because the models replace us. And so I think that was one reason why this market really attracted me is because we were kind of a counter to like AI succeeding. I very much think AI is going to continue to get better as it has been. And if that's true, then probably more and more of like decision making is going to get offloaded to AI. As a result, businesses need to be thinking about AI as kind of their main buyer, honestly, for marketing and selling. And so we want to be able to sell that solution. So I think there's like that one part of it. And the second one is like, I think we had this idea around like, okay, there's like these AI buyers and customer and businesses need to understand one, how they're like perceived and like how they build it, how they like counter that. But I think we are every day kind of shifting priorities. I'm like, okay, what is the next thing that we need to build to like really help our customers? The visibility and the analytics is great, but I think really always the next question is like, okay, how do I improve my ranking, or how do I actually get AI to see me more favorably and ideally talk about me more? And so kind of the priority roadmap for us is like, how do we always make sure that we're building the most valuable thing for our customers to actually improve?
Got it. So then maybe that we can shift a little bit more to the team aspect, right? Because you start out, you mentioned your co-founder, sort of what you've learned from him, but at some point, to keep growing, you also have to grow as a team and as an organization. So maybe let's start with your co-founder. How did you two come together, and how did that partnership sort of take shape in the early days? Was it divide and conquer? Were you both working sort of on the same project at that time? Um,
Yeah.
Maybe you could give us some thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I kind of been exploring this like area, and our like eventual lead investor actually introduced us. We started, just working together on a number of like projects kind of in and around this space. And I think at some point it got to it like, okay, we feel confident that, you know, we work well enough together, or very well, and really at that point, like have the same priorities. And it's like, all right, let's just like let's do this thing and let's go for it. So I think that's kind of one side. And then, definitely much of the priority over the last couple of months has been like building out the team. And I think I've very much learned at previous startups and this startup that like really the only thing that matters, or the primary thing that matters, is the team. The team you build is the company you build. So trying to be very, thoughtful in how we build the team.
Sticking to the co-founder, so that I resonate with you on that. But when you come back to the co-founder, let's say you're just an entrepreneur thinking, hey, I don't want to go to my friends. I need someone that can actually help me build this. What would you say are like some of the qualities or traits that you'd look for in a co-founder? Like, I assume you want someone that can complement your skills, but also bring their own sort of skill set to the table.
Yeah, I think of course like as a technical as a technology company, needed somebody with the ability to like build the product. But I think honestly, like especially with AI, like if you're smart, you can kind of like figure out how to build things. I think, really when I think about hiring and co-founder, there's really like I've learned three main things that matter, which is kind of just, like um are they smart? Are they intelligent? Like, are they smart enough to figure it out? Do they have agency? Like, do they care enough about figuring it out to actually like go figure it out? You can work with a very smart person, but if they don't care about it, then it's probably not going to be a great fit. And then third is just like culture, right? Like you are working with this person. I'm working with Zach, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. So ideally, you kind of enjoy the time together.
I think you said it online once. It was you have to be able to spend 14 hours a day for the next 10 years with this person. And you seem to have found somebody like that, so that's pretty awesome. Beyond the co-founder, and you spoke about it a little bit, those first few hires. What did the first 2 to 3 hires look like for you? What roles were they, and why did you choose, I guess, those roles specifically for your startup?
Yeah, I think, really early stage, it's pretty simple, the roles that you need to hire for, which is like build the thing and sell the thing. Those are like the two main jobs in a startup. Everything else, you know, kind of just ops, finance, all that stuff, kind of just as a CEO you have to do. And so for us, it's like, okay, we need to find people kind of on those same like three traits that can build the thing and help us, build like an awesome product. And then of course, distribute that product. I think that encapsulates both like direct selling, as in like sales, as well as marketing, another way to like sell the product, but all under the same bucket.
Got it. So sales and growth. Um, for those early hires, though, what matters or what mattered more for you? The experience that they had, or I guess the mindset that they had? And what did that interview process look like when you're trying to test that experience versus mindset thing?
Yeah, I honestly I care very little about experience. Most of our team is like pretty young. Um, I really think that you want to be, especially as an early stage company, right? You want to be hiring for slope over intercept. The truth is, the more experienced, like really great people, it is very hard to get them to leave, like very lucrative jobs, to take a bet on the pre-seed type company. And for us, what we want to find is people that we think can really like grow and grow fast. Uh, we'd much rather take someone that, maybe is a little bit less experienced, but really cares, wants to prove themselves, and wants to kind of be like part of that journey.
Very cool.
So it sounds like sort of being proactive because, I was going to ask the question in terms of, let's say you're not thinking of starting a business, but you want to work for a startup or an earlier stage company. What's one thing that maybe someone can do to make them stand out, right? And what is a competitive sort of talent pool and workforce? And at Stifel, for example, we tell our interns every year, it's like one thing that you could do is like use all the resources you have with the team you're working with. Feel free to reach out, be proactive,
Yeah.
have strike a genuine conversation. Would you agree with that? Like, what else do you think is it something that can help them stand out?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I actually, for anyone very interested in like how to get hired by a startup, I have a friend, Jordan Gonen, who wrote an essay about it, and this essay was gone pretty big online. So I would check that out for a little bit more like overview. But I really resonate with kind of his thoughts. He previously started many companies, which is you kind of want to just like show that you can do the thing and that you care enough to do the thing. For early stage company, it's really building or selling, right? If you want to join a company and be like very core for that company, if you're trying to join as like a non-technical hire, I would literally just show that you can do it, which is, find maybe three businesses that could use that company's service. Go and talk to them, interview them why or why they wouldn't like actually adopt that service, and then go cold DM the founder and send them their notes, right? Or if you're a builder, maybe go sign up for the product, tell them what you think is wrong with their product, and then go build like a little feature or version that is like a little bit better and send that to them. But I think it really is, in this world of AI where anyone can, spam generate like 1,000 resumes and go submit them. I would much more recommend choosing like maybe 3, 5 companies that you really want to work for and just going the extra mile because we get quite literally in this world like thousands of applications a week and it's very hard to go through all of those. But if somebody does go the extra mile, spend 3, 4, or 5 hours on like one of these projects, does a good job and sends it to me, like I will of course take the call. So yeah, I would say quality over quantity in this world.
Got it, got it. That's very helpful and useful advice. So you've talked about agency and obviously having a vested interest, and let's talk a little bit more about your experience. I think it's a given. I would assume everyone that goes into starting their own business expects that, hey, I'm going to work a lot, right? 7 days a week, 14, 18 hours a day. But what is it that you think beyond that are maybe some things when it comes to building a business that aren't, top of mind for people or that you didn't realize before you got into it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think there's are you asking more on kind of like, which direction to like start building a business or more on like the personal side?
Both, both.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think something I've been thinking about a lot, which is like, if I were like to like hypothetically like start a new business today, and on something that I've learned from the previous businesses, like I think, there's kind of this like thought around like starting with an idea, but I honestly like wouldn't. I would start with like the market. You can have like an amazing idea, but if it's a really hard market, if there's not a lot of customers or those customers already have like a decent solution, you can have the best idea in the world. It's very hard to like scale that. But if you're in an amazing market where like there's, so much changing, you can start with like a really bad idea. Customers will tell you where you need to build and what is more valuable for them. And then you will like end up in, I think, a much better place. So I think on starting a company, I would say like evaluate market before evaluating actual company. I think a good way to do that is like how large is the market and how much is the market changing every day or every week. Um, and then I think on, like the personal side, I really do think it's kind of just like you kind of have to be like very committed. You mentioned kind of the working a lot. Ideally, you like the work, and so it doesn't really like feel like work. You're not like, oh, I have to, go into work every day. Ideally, you like that, but I think you do end up realizing that it is a lot of trade-offs. I'm happy I make those trade-offs, but you do realize that you have to be like okay with making those trade-offs on like personal time and I haven't taken a lot of vacations recently. So yeah, it's really just what do you want to prioritize at this point in your life?
Yeah, and so what do you do in terms of, you're making a lot of decisions, right, all the time. So how do you almost like try to manage that decision fatigue? Is there things that you're like, hey, I'm going to delegate this out or just refuse to make in the moment? Because I know for myself personally, right, if I'm at the max, I get hung up on the smallest question and I can't make a decision. So it's like, what do you do at that point?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think one thing I've learned over my career so far is like action creates information. Um, you will learn a lot more by like making a quick decision and then doing it. If it's right or if it's wrong, you will know like very quickly, and then you can like course correct, versus like spending a bunch of time on the decision. So I think for us, it's, especially building a company, it's like for every part of the company, marketing, sales, engineering, product, it's really just like, okay, make a quick decision, do it. And then very quickly we'll learn, okay, was that right? If not, well, then you have that information. Now you know which way to go.
Got it. So it's almost like don't dwell on the thinking of is this the right decision? But sometimes just make it and move on. And if it's, the wrong decision, hopefully it's not going to cost you a lot, but
Yeah.
action, yeah, that's good.
I think if you're, like, I don't know, maybe like Jeff Bezos and you're, deciding where to put like $20 billion type of decision, you should probably think about it a little bit more. But I don't think most of the decisions that we make at like early stage technology company are, uh, one-way doors. I think
Yeah,
kind of usually go back through that door. And so a lot of it is just like, let's go test.
got it.
Very interesting take. I do want to shift a little bit, and I have been cooking up this question because I'm curious about it. You talked about posting on LinkedIn and how before you started Meridian, you probably hadn't posted, I mean, maybe once a month, maybe you liked something, but now I've seen that you post consistently almost every single day. How have you gotten past that like awkward, this is weird to be posting every single day phase, and how is it attributed to Meridian's growth, I guess?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I honestly like I was never a big social media guy. I don't think I'd posted in like, I don't know, 5, 6 years on any kind of social media before like our initial launch. But honestly, I had seen a lot of founders, start doing it and realizing kind of the importance of there and like how much it helps with the company. So decided to lock into it and start posting every day post launch. And the truth is like one, you get used to it like very quickly. After like 2 or 3 weeks, you're like, I don't really care at this point. So
No biggie.
that is, but yeah, the unfortunate part for anyone that's a little bit like scared of posting on LinkedIn is I do think it It very much helps. It helps with everything. I think in this world where like, actually building the thing is getting cheaper and cheaper, a lot of kind of like the alpha in the next decade is like distribution. And I would say, having a public persona and like, people seeing you before maybe they like talk to you for the first time kind of just builds like a level of trust. And I think this is, when I think about my role as one of the co-founders, really like the job is selling. It's selling to customers, it's selling to potential employees, and it's selling to investors. And I think in sales, any one of those, like trust goes a long way. And I think like having that public persona really helps with trust.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. I guess this is a little bit of a follow-up, but also shifting a little bit. Putting yourself out there is something that like not a lot of people can do. So entrepreneurship fit is a specific type of person. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. So in your opinion, what's something that makes it so that an entrepreneur is able to succeed? Or what's a best fit entrepreneur, I guess I would ask.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone could be an entrepreneur if you want it. I think really the only thing that matters is like, do you care enough to go do it? Like, it is not like super easy, and you do kind of have to like make those trade-offs. But if it's something that you want to do, I think absolutely like anybody can go do it. There are obviously things that like help, but generally learning those skills or getting access to that capital or knowing those people. The best way to do that is just like start doing the thing. And that'll be a much way better, like faster way to get to where you need to go.
Alex, I know we've passed the 30-minute mark, as we're good for a few more minutes. So I have a couple more questions. I guess more general for our audience. So, obviously AI, as we talked about and started, that is the future, right? We at Stifel, we think we're very bullish on its transformative potential. So if you're in college right now and you're entering the workforce, what skills do you think would you prioritize to sort of stay competitive in the workforce? Like I know for me, up until maybe ChatGPT, I always said if I could go back to school, I'd probably learn more coding. And now there's vibe coding, so I'm like, all right, maybe I lucked out with that a little bit. But what are some skills you think are going to be more important going forward?
Yeah, I think really like the main skill that's going to matter is just like how good are you at using AI and building things with AI. I think, it is like an interesting job market, especially for like new grads. But I think there's also like a lot of opportunity in there if you can get really good at the AI tools. I honestly think um, you will probably make more money than any new grad class in like the history of the world because it does like unlock, right? You aren't simply like maybe 2x better than someone else was like 10 years ago. You're now 10x, 50x better because you really know how to like use AI. So I think general thoughts would be just start building with them. Like learn some tools. The projects that you build do not have to be life changing. They don't even have to be any different, right? Find like a tool that you like and go rebuild it with AI. And I think you'll learn a lot. And as an employer, I think that's where we're one thing I always ask in like every first interview is like, what kind of side projects have you built? I think it shows that people care enough to like go and like learn on their own and like have that like agency. And so I think, having kind of like a resume or portfolio of side projects, they do not have to be crazy. They do not have to be like life-changing. But just having something shows that you like put care into it is um, really puts you ahead of like, vast majority of the other applicants.
Yeah, it aligns a lot with actually what our CEO has said. I think he said in an interview, you're not going to get replaced by AI, but you're likely going to get replaced by someone that knows how to use AI
Yeah.
in the future. So, last question before we get to, I guess we could call it a tradition at this point, Sophia. This is going to be the second time doing it. We want to do a lightning round with you, a fast lightning round with 10 quick questions. And I
Perfect.
know we can, I'm going to end it open-ended because I think we can spend a whole other session just on AI. When we look at, for example, markets and investing, obviously this week and last week, there's been a lot of talk of AI disruption and replacing different industry, like software, for example, has been down a lot. But where do you think, are there aspects of AI or sectors or industries where people are overestimating its potential, especially maybe in the near term? And are there areas maybe where they're underestimating it, I guess, on the flip side?
Yeah, I think it's generally true with like most of technology, which we always overestimate what's going to happen in like 1 or 2 years, and then we underestimate what's going to happen in like 10 years. So I think that generally applies for like every part of AI. I think that these things they kind of like sneak up on you a little bit, but I don't know. I don't really subscribe to the like doomerism, like we're all not going to have jobs in like 2 years. I think it's gonna be a pretty cool place with AI.
Yeah, yeah. We're in that camp as well for sure. All right, so I have 5 questions for you, no particular rhyme or reason. And this one this morning with Sophia, we came up with. So if Meridian, I don't know, maybe you already do, if you had a mascot, what would it be?
We do not have an official mascot. It's been thrown around, Meridian the Moose, and I think we might adopt it pretty soon. So I'm gonna go with Moose.
That's perfect. I had an English bulldog. His name was Moose, so I think you should go for it. In terms of LLM models, what do you think today is the best LLM model?
Gemini. I think
Gemini.
I think Google's gonna win this AI race, but we'll see.
Okay. In terms of office vibe, I think I can sense based on how you're dressed. But are you guys more business casual, professional, or is it, hoodies and sneakers?
It was hoodies and sneakers until we started hiring employees that dress well. And now I feel like I have to like actually wear like button downs to the office. For a long time, it was very much just you know, sandals and t-shirts, but we're trying to like grow up a little bit.
And I know we talked about potentially doing this in person because we're all in the New York area here. But in terms of meetings, do you prefer Zoom for efficiency, or is it in-person meetings that you favor?
Anytime I can do an in-person meeting, I will, because it's much more fun. But unfortunately, most of the days are, 8, 10 meetings. And so it is a little bit more practical to do Zoom for most of them.
Got it. And then the last one for me, in terms of, you talked about long days. Are you more of an early bird, or are you, staying up till 2 a.m. in the morning working?
I think somewhere in the middle. I've been trying to become a little bit more of an early bird, but I do think I kind of think best at like the 8, 9 p.m. So, uh, yeah, trying to keep like a normal schedule, something like, 8 to 9.
Okay.
Okay, so I have four for you, and I guess with those long hours, what's the coffee order?
I've been trying to dial down my caffeine. This year it has not been going well, but usually just like black coffee.
Good for you. I have not dialed down on the caffeine. Who is your dream advisory board member?
Oh, probably Paul Graham. It's kind of like a standard question, but he's seen a lot. He's seen a lot of companies. He's seen a lot of them, why they succeeded, why they failed. So I think he'd be a pretty good ad.
Good answer. One word that would you describe how AI is going to change the world?
Oh man. Up leveling. We don't have to do the manual things anymore. We got to do the fun things.
Mine was speed for some reason when I thought of it. The number one person you look up to professionally.
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a finisher for sure.
Yeah. I'll go with someone actually who's on our cap table right now, which is Gokul Rajaram. He's a incredible operator, and he's seen like a lot of companies, and so he's very top of mind. We were chatting with him last week, so I'll go with him.
Perfect. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're super busy and for being so transparent with us. It's impressive what you're building with Meridian. We wish you continued success, and we can't wait to see what the team does next. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah.
I do have to say one last thing. Yes, thank you, Alex, for having us. And thank you for everyone who's able to tune in today. If you like some of the content that we talked about, we also have the NextGen handbook, which was linked in your invite today. So it's a great piece to learn a little bit more about the NextGen initiative that we have here at Stifel. So thanks so much for everyone coming, and thank you, Alex.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.